I am Dr. Sheila Patterson, and I'm here to welcome each of you. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm also going to introduce your speaker, my husband, Dr. Ken Patterson. Ken began his medical career in my hometown of Greenville, Texas. And even then, he was super interested in wellness. And he included in his practice a weight loss program, exercise testing and prescriptions, and also had a counselor that helped his patients with stress reduction. After 8 years there, we decided to go on a little adventure and accepted a 2-year assignment from the International Mission Board to go to Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan and help their country transition their medical care system out of the communist era. His medical responsibilities included consulting with the Ministry of Health, teaching some at their medical school, and coordinating the influx of medical aid, new medicines and new equipment, and teaching the doctors and nurses in there how to use those things. After our time there, we came back to the States and he did some additional training and began a career in emergency room medicine, most recently at Hendrick Hospital in Abilene and the Rolling Plains Hospital in Sweetwater. As an emergency room physician, he was continually confronted with premature death and disease that he really thought should have been prevented. He kept asking himself the question, isn't there something better I can do for my patients? A way to help them take charge of their health and not just live with disease. And so, when he heard about the opportunity to certify in anti-aging and wellness medicine, he decided that that was just the something better he'd been looking for. He was so excited to learn there's a large body of medical information backed up with well-documented scientific studies that show that many, many diseases of aging in our country can be prevented and sometimes even reversed with the proper interventions. This includes lots of things like diabetes, cancers, diseases that affect your thinking skills like Parkinson's, multi-infarct dementia. So lots of diseases can be helped with interventions. So after 3 years of lots of study, tests, hard work, seminars, conferences, and oral and written boards, he was certified in December of 2014 in anti-aging and wellness medicine, and in May of 2015, he opened in Abilene Restore Wellness Center, which is a state-of-the-art wellness clinic where it's really his passion to help each individual patient achieve their optimal health and mental fitness so they can live out well all the good plans that God has for them. Help me welcome Dr. Ken Patterson.
That's the best part of the evening. She does a good job. Bundle of energy. It was a warm July morning. The local pastor pulled his car into the filling station where I worked. Any of you remember filling stations? They went away. My mom had had a 3-year bout with ovarian cancer, and I was a 15-year-old young man with a summer job. She'd been in and out of the hospital several times, had been on several occasions critically ill, and the doctors told us that she wouldn't leave the hospital. She rallied and went home and recovered somewhat, and as a 15-year-old young man, I expected nothing less that day. The look on the pastor's face told me it wouldn't be that way. My mom died that day, and the effects of her illness and her death is what prompted me to go into medicine, and ultimately what caused me to go into wellness medicine. I was a young man, ambitious, enthusiastic, and out to save the world, and thought I was going to find a cure for cancer. I got to medical school and made an important discovery, a discovery that I hope a lot of you have already made. It's a lot better to prevent a disease than to try to cure one. And so I changed courses, and I went into primary care, family practice, because I was going to help people prevent diseases. And as my wife pointed out, that's what the focus of my practice was. So that's a little about me and how I got started. Let's hear a little bit about you. How many of you have high blood pressure? Any diabetes?
Treated high blood pressure? Mine's treated.
All right, no, that's high, still high blood pressure.
Okay.
Diabetes. How many of you just have aches and pains? You know what the source is. How many of you don't sleep very well? How many of you have too much belly fat? Lots of hands go up. So what's the cause of this? All these things, is this just normal aging? Is it right? Are we supposed to feel this way? It just happens as years go by? I don't think so. We're going to talk a lot about this, okay? We're going to talk about how all these things that are happening to us, the diagnosis that we have, and the issues that we have with our health, our aches and pains, our sleeplessness, our lack of energy, has a cause, and that cause is not just making us feel bad, it's undermining our future health potential. We're not going to live as long and as well because of the things that are going on with the health right now. Do we have a crisis in our healthcare system in this country? I've never gotten a no from that question. And why do you say that? Why do we have a crisis? What's the evidence? Over-medicated. What else? Obese.
Undiagnosing things.
Not diagnosing things. Exactly right.
Misdiagnosing.
Misdiagnosing. Right. What else?
GMO foods.
All right. Lots of things going on. So we have a lot of stuff going on with our health, and the healthcare system is not really addressing it. If you go in and your blood pressure is up a few ticks, he increases your dose or gives you another prescription. Right? So that's the solution, and that's all the doctor has time for. You know, he writes you a prescription to deal with the numbers, and there's the healthcare system doesn't dig down to the root cause. We're going to watch a little video clip in a minute, and it points out the real evidence that we have a broken healthcare system. We have the most expensive healthcare system in the world by 2 times. We spend twice as much per capita as any other country, and yet we're not even in the top 20 or 30 as far as longevity, how long we live. So we have a lot of things going on in our country, things that undermine our health, that are ruining our health, and the healthcare system is not addressing that. And what do we need a healthcare system for? I mean, it's the healthcare system, isn't it? Well, not really. It's the disease management system. It's taking care of our diseases, but it's not really trying to put us back on the track to being well. Does that make sense? We're going to cover a lot of ground tonight, and I need your permission to go fast so we can get through it all. Do you want it sugar-coated or do you want it straightforward? Okay, that's how you're going to get it. Let me tell you what my intention is. A lot of you are wondering, is this guy just so nice? He's feeding us dinner and educating us? Yeah, I am. But there's more to it. There's a catch. I am going to try to get you to do something at the end of the seminar, and it's this simple. And I'm going to tell you right now so you don't have to worry about what I'm going to try to tell you. I'm going to try to get you to sign up for a consultation to come in my clinic. Tonight is a great time for you to get to know me and my philosophy and about what I do and why I do what I do. And when you come into the clinic, it's a chance for me to get to know who you are, and we can talk about your health problems and how we can get you back on track. Does that sound fair?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to be asking for a show of hands to see how many of you are on board as the evening goes on, and just be honest with me. Let me know where you're at. So my wife is going over my credentials, but my main credential for talking to you tonight about health and getting health on track is I face my own health challenges. I'll be talking about that tonight, but I'm a person just like you, and that's my main qualification is I'm trying to get myself right. I'm trying to fix me so that I can live long and well, and I've given myself an education learning about that, and I'm passing that information on to you. That's what I do. That's my job. And I also want to say I'm going to talk a lot about the healthcare system, and I'm not criticizing anybody's doctors, okay? The doctors are they're a small piece of this whole big system, and it's not their fault. They do what they have to do. They do what they have time to do, and I'm just doing something else. I'm stepping away from that and trying to practice a different kind of wellness medicine. Does that make sense? So the healthcare industry and the health insurance industry are just that, industries, right? You understand their businesses. They give themselves different names, and their advertising all tries to make it like they're about health and getting you healthy, but they're really businesses, and the bottom line is their profitability. Even nonprofit healthcare organizations operate like for-profit industries. The bottom line is how much money comes in. And the two industries are both dependent on the money flowing between the two. Money flows into the the health insurance system from you, from your employer, and from the government, and money flows into the healthcare system from the health insurance system, all right? And these two industries are codependent. And they're very much dependent. If that flow stops between one to the other, they lose money. They need money flowing between the two. What's the key to money flowing from the insurance pool into the health insurance, to the healthcare pool? What makes the money flow?
Sickness.
Sickness, sick people. And does it flow better if you're a little sick or really sick? Or really, really sick? When does the money flow the best? You know what a day in the ICU costs? Yeah, you know what a day in the ICU costs? A lot, thousands of dollars. It can be tens of thousands, depending on how sick you are, as opposed to a few 100 or 200 for a doctor's office visit. So a lot more money flows out if you're really, really sick. So here's the key question to start the evening out with. Are we going to depend on these two industries to get us healthy? How much sense does that make? They have counter financial incentives. They make money the sicker we are. So I'm not saying that they're doing this intentionally, but we can't expect them to get us on the path to health and wellness. Does that make sense? Everybody, if I'm going too slow or too fast, somebody wave at me or signal. That means speed up, that means slow down, okay? Okay, speed up, okay. All right. So you'll bear with me, I've got a new mouse pointer, and I'm going to be griping about it tonight, so just get ready. Maybe not, right? It's going to work. There we go. We're going to go past that. All right, this is the wellness gauge. Okay, glitch one. So, the green, this is as God made us. God gave us self-healing systems. A lot of us, and we're going to talk about these internal systems, which are the root cause of what goes wrong with our health. And these systems fix themselves, but they don't. And we're going to talk about why they don't fix themselves. But this is how God made us, and things are working well. If we have a problem, it fixes itself. Whoa. We're going to just have some fun. I'm just going to play with this a while. You guys drink your tea. All right, so this is the green. Yellow is things aren't working so well. You have a diagnosis, you have a disease, you don't feel well, you're not sleeping well, you have aches and pains. Things are beginning to fall apart. Your internal systems aren't fixing themselves anymore. And then things go from bad to worse, and you get into orange. This is where things are rapidly changing. You can feel year to year that your health is going down, and you really wonder how long you're going to last. And then red is the worst case scenario. Red. Down here, there we go. Red is things are changing so rapidly, I call it RIA, riding in an ambulance. These people need acute intervention or they're going to suffer disability or death. So, have 4 questions about the wellness gauge for you. First question is the easiest of all. Where are you at? How many of you are in the green and you know it? How many are in the yellow? Anybody in the orange and you know it and you'll admit it? A couple of timid hands. And if you're in the red, I don't want to know. You're disqualified. You're disqualified from dinner tonight, but I know CPR. I can help you. All right, second question about the wellness gauge. Where do you want to be? Everybody wants to be in green. Nobody has a death wish. We all want to live long and well, and we want to be healthy right now. All right, so third question about the wellness gauge. Which direction are you going? And this is not wishful thinking. Based on your health-related behaviors in the last 6 months, are you moving to the right or are you moving to the left? How many of you are moving right and you know it? Excellent. Some people are taking action on their health. How many of you are moving left? And you're willing to admit it. Okay. That's not good, but thank you for your honesty. All right, now the fourth and final question about the wellness gauge has a 2-part answer. If you're going to get on the track and get where you want to be on this wellness gauge, whose responsibility is it?
Yourselves.
That's right, exactly right. It's your responsibility. Nobody else, not any system, not the healthcare system, not your doctor, but it's your responsibility. Okay, second part of the question is who's going to help you? I'll give you a hint. I am. Right, that was easy, right? All right. This is my family. 10 kids. You're right, I've been busy. 7 kids of our own. There's my wife, you've already met, and then 3 kids that we adopted. It was with some of these older kids that I had my own health challenge that woke me up. We always love the mountains. We love hiking in Colorado. Every summer we go. Sometimes we go twice, and we always hike mountains. We don't stay horizontal. We go vertical. And we just always we're that way. And I was always the alpha dad, out in front, leading the way, encouraging the kids. Come on, that's not fast enough. No, you don't need a break yet. No, that's long enough a break. Let's go. But this year the kids have gotten a little stronger and bigger, and they're walking ahead of me. That was my first mistake. And they're just getting further and further ahead of me, and then the trail got steeper, and they seemed to get quicker, and I got further behind. And I decided I was the man. I was going to catch up with them. That was my second mistake. And I got so short of breath, my chest got tight, I didn't know where the next breath was coming from. I don't know how many of you have experienced that, but it was a panicky feeling. I didn't enjoy that at all. And I got the kids to slow down. I got in front of them, so they had to go at my pace. And I started planning what I was going to do to keep this from happening again. Because I saw, my wake-up moment was I saw what it was like for my family to go on without me. And I didn't like the way that felt. And that became a deep, heartfelt motivation for me. And I changed my behavior. I lost weight. I started eating better. Started exercising. And that stuck in my mind. And when the opportunity came up to study anti-aging and wellness medicine, I jumped on it, partly because of my memories of that one moment. Call it a teachable moment.
The American healthcare system is badly broken.
The present system doesn't work, and it's going to take us down. We need a whole new kind of medicine.
We're in the grip of a very big industry, and it doesn't want to stop making money.
If I spent 5 minutes with you and then put in one of these stents, I'd probably get paid $1,500. For me to spend 45 minutes with the patient to try to figure out what their true problem is, I'd probably get paid $15. It's a completely irrational system.
We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a disease management system.
We're spending almost twice as much in America as any other country on earth, but our lifespan isn't even in the top 20.
30,000 Medicare recipients die each year from care they didn't need. That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. If the aviation industry killed as many people, we'd be up in arms.
The administration pays you based on how many patients you see. All right, who's next? If you try and buck the system, someone says, what can we do to get your productivity up? I'm not interested in getting my productivity up. I'm interested in helping patients.
We're seeing the military just being a microcosm of the problem society's having.
Soldiers' use of prescription drugs has tripled in the past 5 years.
This medications I was on.
Only by accepting that the American healthcare system is badly broken will we be able to seek out the escape fires, the potential solutions. There are answers.
One company has figured out how to lower health care costs by more than 40%.
We provide incentives for people to engage in healthier behaviors.
The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
I was skeptical, so skeptical.
I've gotten a lot of inspiration, a different perspective. There's a different way of doing things that is possible.
If I think about what healthcare could be like, it would have a lot more care in it.
The healthcare system is unsustainable. We're really mortgaging the future. It's not just the health of healthcare, we're talking about the health of the nation.
That last guy was the Director of Health and Human Services. This is a top dog in the whole healthcare system, saying that it's going down. Our system's not taking care of people, and it's affecting us every day, and it's affecting our health. All right, so what are the systems that go wrong? We talked about which category you're in the wellness gauge, and green is how we want to be when internal systems are working well. What are these systems? I'm going to spend a little time talking about this. This is the more tedious part of the talk. It's the part I enjoy. It's kind of the nerdy science part, but we go through it pretty fast, and if I see you nodding off, I'll try to speed it up. The first system is the information systems. Beautiful and unbelievably complicated. A decade or so ago, they mapped the human genome. There was a lot of pride about that, and a lot of, what's the word, hubris. Just that we'd figured out humanity. Now, we're still 10 years later trying to figure out what to do with that information. It didn't mean as much to it as what we thought it did. When I went to medical school, there was also a lot of hubris that we had discovered the link between DNA and a lot of diseases. And the saying was going around back in those days, your DNA is your destiny. Because we were all proud of that. We thought we'd figured out why people have diseases. It's your DNA. Turns out that that's not so true. There's been recent discoveries. How many of you heard of epigenetics? So, good. Vitally important. It's going to be in Reader's Digest sometime soon, Time Magazine and all that, because this is the part that controls your DNA. You know, every cell in your body has exactly the same DNA, but your cells are vastly different. The cells in your brain are obviously different from the cells in your kidney, are different from the cells in your skin. They manifest themselves in different ways, and that same DNA is turned on and off in different ways in different cells. And what turns that DNA off and on in different ways is called the epigenome. and that's epigenetics. And also, you, in your general body, your health, you make determinations, and your lifestyle is the main thing that does that, about whether healthy, life-restoring molecules are made or inflammatory molecules are made. And inflammatory molecules, inflammation is the enemy. Unless you're in a crisis and you're being attacked, you need some inflammatory molecules. Otherwise, inflammatory molecules are part of what takes you down. So the epigenome basically determines, the epigenetics determine whether you're going to be healthy or not, and you could determine what your epigenetics do to your DNA. So your DNA is not in control of everything. Your epigenetics is in control. And the good news is you're in control of your epigenetics based on the choices that you make. So it's not all bad news. You're stuck with bad genes and you're going to die young. And you can't expect to live long if you have good genes, because you're in control of that based on the lifestyle choices you make. You turn your epigenetics on and off. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? Too fast or too slow? Doing all right? Okay, good. Information systems. The second system we're going to talk about, I love talking about it because we make so many assumptions about energy systems. We don't think about it until things start failing. Where does all the energy we use every day, all the energy you're using right now, watching me, blinking your eyes, digging in your purse? Okay, good. Where does all that energy come from? Ultimately, that's the key question. It's going to be a trick question, so processing that. Where does all of our energy ultimately come from?
Food.
Go back another step. Where does the energy in food come from? Protein is one of our sources of energies. Where does all this energy come from? What? The sun. Absolutely. Thank you, Sam. We don't think that way, do we? It's a beautiful system God made. Plants, through a process called what? Photosynthesis, capture energy from the sun. They capture that energy by linking carbon atoms together. We consume these chains of carbon atoms in the form of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. They're ingested by us, broken down, transported in our blood system to a part of the cell called the mitochondria. The mitochondria has all the equipment there to strip those carbon atoms apart and release that energy. All right, and that energy is released. If you have everything in place, the energy is captured and it's utilized by your body by what we call the energy currency of the cell, ATP. You don't have to remember that; it won't be on the test. So what goes wrong? Why should we be concerned about our energy systems? Two things. One, if you're not well nourished, you're not eating the right foods, you're not absorbing the foods, or if you have genetic defects, everything's not going to be there that you need to transport that loose energy to the ATP, and that energy is going to get loose. And that loose energy is called reactive oxygen species, and that does a lot of damage in our body. It can damage the DNA. A lot of DNA damage can cause cancer. It can damage the mitochondria, so the mitochondria can't release energy. It can damage the cell membrane, so the cell membrane is compromised. And basically, a lot of that going on is how we get old. Your body can't repair itself because you don't have everything there. The other reason why it's important is there's a key that's in everybody's diet. This is the key word. You see it on a lot of vitamin bottles. It says contains extra blank. Vitamins. Antioxidants. You hear that word all the time, antioxidants. Now you know what antioxidants do. They mop up reactive oxygen species. This spare energy, before it gets loose, before it can do damage, is taken care of by antioxidants. So energy systems are important to us because, one, if they're not working well, we won't have energy. And two, if we're not well nourished and getting everything we need and getting enough antioxidants in our diet, we're not going to mop up the free energy. We're going to have a lot of damage done to our cells, and we're going to have premature aging because of that. All right, we still okay? Everybody awake? Good. Third system, the immune system. Vitally important. We couldn't live without it. You'd probably live a week to 10 days if your immune system shut down right now. You might live that long with the help of antibiotics and all modern medicine. But that's as long as you could possibly live without a functioning immune system. You ever heard of bubble babies? Babies that are born without an immune system. They have to go in a protected environment at birth and then get a lot of help. And if they're able to sterilize that environment, then the babies live until they decide to get out of that bubble. Usually when they come of age, they decide they can't stand it anymore and they're going to experience the world. And even with antibiotics and all the stuff that we can do for them, they live 2 or 3 weeks after they get out of the bubble. These are people that don't have an immune system. So why should we be concerned about our immune systems? It's working, right? We're all alive, right? Well, it can go wrong. What goes wrong with our immune systems? Part of our immune system is the fight or flight system. You guys have heard of that, right? This is what prepares you to get ready for action. This is an ancient part of our immune system that developed when we were having to run from saber-toothed tigers and from enemies, hostile people, and we had to get ready to react. And we had hard physical life, and we needed to react physically to the threats that we faced. And so when this happens, your adrenal glands clamp down, they secrete epinephrine. Epinephrine quickens your pulse, raises your heart rate, your blood pressure, and shunts blood to your peripheral muscles, shunts it away from your internal organs to your muscles so that you're ready to react. The other thing that happens is your adrenal glands clamp down and secrete cortisol. Cortisol mobilizes energy. It goes to all the different places in your body, gathers energy up, and releases it as blood sugar. So this elevated cortisol causes elevated blood sugar so that your muscles have the energy they need so that you can run and react. Well, guess what? How many of you faced a physical threat in the last month where you needed that kind of response? It just doesn't happen very often. So why is this important? We don't use the fight or flight system, right? Because we don't need it. But this is one really stupid part of our bodies because we have such an ancient system that we don't distinguish between emotional threats and physical threats. And so emotional threats turn on the same system. Chronic stress turns on the same system. Your wife nagging at you all the time turns on the same system. Your boss being chronically dissatisfied with your work. Even having a bad diet, eating too much sugar, turns on the same system, the fight or flight system. And so we're all the time raising our blood pressure. That extra blood pressure is roughing up the inside of the arteries, so cholesterol sticks there, making us at risk of heart attacks and strokes. And the cortisol is being released, is mobilizing energy. And mobilized energy is not necessary. We don't need to do anything physical. So we store that energy. What's another word for stored energy? Belly fat, exactly right. So we're mobilizing energy all the time and redepositing it. And this is one of the main reasons for belly fat, because we're chronically stressed. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So that's 3 systems. The 4th system we're going to talk about is the hormones. All right? This is the cockpit of the airplane. A lot of information coming in, a lot of information going out. We tend to think of our nervous system controlling our body because that's how I control my hand. I can make my hand do stuff and move around and make the pointer do what it's supposed to do sometimes because my nervous system is controlling that. But our body controls itself not through the nervous system but through chemical signals. Almost all the control of your body, 95% of it is through chemical signals, and these chemical signals are called hormones. We have hundreds of hormones, but we're going to talk about only 5 of them. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is cortisol. We've already talked about cortisol, and it's part of the fight or flight system, but it also does a lot of other things. One of the main things it does is modulate your immune system, turns it up and down. Cortisol affects all your hormones. If your cortisol is wacky, none of the other hormones are going to work right. It's kind of the master hormone. And because we're chronically stressed, a lot of us have messed up cortisol. And because we have messed up cortisol, none of our hormones work for us like they should. And that's compromising our health. Second hormone we're going to talk about, insulin. We have some diabetics in here. If we don't have enough insulin, that's the disease that we have. Insulin secreted by beta cells in the pancreas in response to elevated blood sugar. If your body becomes resistant to the action of insulin, or if you don't produce enough action, your blood sugar is chronically elevated, and you become a diabetic and have to take medicine to get your blood sugar down. So insulin is vitally important for us. Insulin and elevated blood sugar cause so many problems. You know, being a diabetic increases your risk of every disease that we know of, including several kinds of cancer, heart disease, obviously, renal disease, risk of strokes, and risk of Alzheimer's. All those things are increased with diabetes because, mostly because that extra blood sugar is detrimental to you. Floating around there just does a lot of bad things to you. You know what? Any of you know what glycation is? It won't be on the test. They do test sometime in diabetics called hemoglobin A1C to see how your blood sugar is done over a period of time. And that hemoglobin is a protein molecule, and sugar sticks onto it. And the higher your blood sugar is, the more sugar sticks onto that protein molecule. And so they've done this test enough to know that what your average blood sugar has been based on the number of sugar molecules that are stuck on the hemoglobin. Well, this is also happening to all the proteins in your body. When you're diabetic and your sugar's running high, you're glycating proteins. A protein is more like raw egg white. It's thick and slimy like that. And when you glycate it, it's sticky like the surface of a ham. You know, that's glycated protein. So proteins, when they're glycated, when they have that sugar stuck on them, they just don't work right. So that's the second hormone we're going to talk about. The third hormone is thyroid hormone. Any of you on thyroid medicine? Probably some more of you should be. There's an epidemic of thyroid disease. And we don't know exactly why. Some of it's lack of iodine. Some of it's that we make a lot of antibodies to the thyroid gland because of our bad diets. and some of it's because of toxins in our diet. So we have a lot of thyroid disease going on. Thyroid's vitally important. It's your thermostat hormone. It's what turns your metabolism up and down. And without thyroid, you, one, don't have energy, because you don't have it there to release energy, and two, you store that energy. And what's another word for stored energy? Fat. That's exactly right. So another cause of too much fat going on is thyroid disease. All right, now to the stars of the show. It's the fourth and fifth hormones. Anybody want to guess what they are? Exactly right. Exactly right. We love the differences between men and women. Men are pretty simple. Women, not so much. So there was an entrepreneur in New York City who decided that there were too many single women in New York City. So he opens up a husband store. Very simple rules. Major street in Manhattan, 6-story building. The rules are you can go to any store you want, any floor you want to pick out your husband, but you can't go back to the previous floor. So our young lady goes into the husband store. She's going to pick out a husband for herself. She thinks it's about time. She goes to the first floor. On the first floor, she finds men who have jobs. She's pumped. She thinks this is a good thing. She wants a man with a job, but she knows she has other choices. So she goes to the second floor. There she finds men who have jobs and love kids. Well, she's hoping there's kids in her future, so she's pretty excited. But she has to know what's on the other floor. So she goes to the third floor, and there she finds men who have jobs, love kids, and they're good looking. Well, that stops in her tracks. What else can there be? This has to be the ultimate. You know, what more can you want in a man? But it's heating her up. She has to know. She goes to the fourth floor. She finds men who are good looking, who love kids, have jobs, and they help with chores. Only the women get that one. The men are what? And she's pretty excited about that, but she goes to the fifth floor to see what's going on there. On the fifth floor, she finds men who have jobs, love kids, good looking, help with chores, and they're incurable romantics. Flowers all the time, let me give you a back rub, honey, what can I do for you? And she's got her purse out. She's digging for a credit card, going to make her purchase. And she remembers there's another floor, so she has to know. So she goes to the sixth floor, and on the sixth floor, she sees the sign, welcome to the sixth floor, you're the 35 millionth visitor. There are no men on this floor. This is for women who can't be satisfied. So our same entrepreneur decides this is gender biased. We need to open up a wives store. So he does the same thing. Major Street in Manhattan, 6-story building, real simple rules. You can go to any floor, but you can't go back to the previous floor. So our young man goes into the wives store. He's going to pick up a wife. And on the first floor, he finds women who like sex. He's got his wallet out, digging for bills. And then he remembers there's other choices. So he goes to the second floor. There he finds women who like sex and have money. And he makes his purchase. No one knows what's on the other floors. Nobody's ever been there. So we love the differences between men and women. And these two hormones are responsible for these differences from the very beginning, and even now they're responsible for continued differences between men and women. Is there any controversy about replacing hormones? What have you heard? Let's start on the women's side. What have you heard about women's hormones? Why should we not do that? Cancer. What kind of cancer? Breast cancer. Concerns about that, right? Huh? There's concerns about ovarian cancer as well, but especially breast cancer and heart disease. Those are the two things. 2003 or 4, the big study came out. It's supposed to answer the question for all time, do women need hormone replacement or not? It's called the Women's Health Initiative. And the conclusion of the Women's Health Initiative was, no, they do not. They have increased risk of breast cancer and heart disease. Well, 3 years ago, a relook at that information, and the women who participated in that was published in the American Journal of Public Health. And its conclusion was, as many as 90,000 women in the United States have died because doctors followed the advice of the Women's Health Initiative. In other words, it was a bad study and came to the wrong conclusions. Women would have lived longer and better with replacement hormones. The problem with the Women's Health Initiative, it was the wrong hormone by the wrong route to the wrong population of women. The women they studied were older women. 40% of them were smokers or former smokers. And they counted Premarin and Provera, which are artificial hormones, along with everything else. And a lot of the women got progestins, which are Provera, artificial progesterones, which increase breast cancer, increase the risk of heart disease. Since that time, there have been good studies that show that if you give a woman bioidentical hormones, hormones that are identical to what her body is used to making, and you give them by the right route, you do not increase the risk of breast cancer, and you do not increase the risk of heart disease. And the benefits of replacing hormones throughout your whole body, there's 400 functions of estrogen in your body. Bones, everybody knows about bones. There's a balance. A lot of stuff that leads us to bad health is because things get out of balance. And in your bones, women and men, there are cells that build bone up and cells that tear bone down. And when you lose your estrogen, when you go through menopause, the cells that build bone go away. So you have just the cells working that tear bones down. So what's going to be the result of that? Bad bones, osteoporosis. Exactly right. And that's the consequence of it. So putting your estrogen back gets those cells going again to help restore your bone and keep your bone mass up so you don't fall and break a hip. And that's only where it starts. It also, estrogen helps your brain. You have lower risk of dementia, lower risk of depression, replacing your estrogen. And it helps your sense of well-being. Again, I already mentioned depression, lower risk of being depressed. There's a good number of women who are on antidepressants who can get off and replaced on hormone replacement. They do that much better. So it's a very natural physiologic way to replace it. And this is my philosophy. A lot of doctors think that as we age, our hormones go down. That's true, but that's only half the truth. The other half of it is that we age because our hormones go down. So getting hormone levels back up to more youthful levels helps stave off some of the effects of aging. Again, think of the epigenetic switches that we already talked about. All you remember that 10 minutes ago, right? We talked about the epigenetics. So hormones are one of the things that turn the epigenetic switches, and they help your body make maintenance and repair proteins so that your body has the stuff that you need to fix itself. All right? Make sense? Okay, what about men? What about replacing testosterone in men? Any controversy with that? Cardiovascular disease. Pardon? Anger, that's right. Both of those things are issues, and prostate cancer. All three of those things are out there. Not too many years ago, there were ads on TV. If you've taken any form of testosterone and had a heart attack, call so-and-so law firm. Those have gone away. They were based on older studies, they were based on bad studies, and those studies have been totally discounted, and there's been a lot of editorials that say those studies should have been retracted. Basically, we don't need to go into details, but they weren't good studies either. And there's a lot of studies that show that there's not an increased risk of heart disease. If you take bioidentical testosterone and take it in the right doses by the right route, it doesn't increase your risk of heart disease or prostate cancer. There's even a urology researcher who's experimenting using testosterone for prostate cancer, for people who have advanced prostate cancer. So it doesn't increase your risk of heart disease or prostate cancer. Done right. Done wrongly, and a lot of bodybuilders used artificial androgens in high doses, makes you angry and increases your risk of heart disease. So, but done right, there's no risk. And men have as many benefits from testosterone as women do from estrogen. And it helps your sense of well-being, helps stamina, helps strength. You know, you build muscle, but I'm not concerned about being a bodybuilder, but my health out in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, is going to depend on the amount of skeletal muscle that I have. My ability to balance myself, to prevent myself from falling, the ability for me to do the things that I want to do with my life is dependent on the amount of muscle that I have. And that's true for all you, men and women. You know, as you age, you're going to lose your ability to do stuff because of the loss of skeletal muscle. So testosterone helps that. Does that make sense?
I took that and didn't do nothing for me, really.
Well, I can talk to you, but it wasn't done right, and it's not always how you feel, because about 20% of people that I replace testosterone for don't get kick from it. They don't say, I don't feel much different. And sometimes it's a problem with the dosing. Sometimes, right, so sometimes the pellets aren't done right, and sometimes, you know, we're all very different physiologically. Some people need a higher dose to get that benefit from it. But the 20% who don't get the benefit, who feel the benefit, are getting long-term benefit. I replace hormones for two reasons. One is why people come to me, and that's because they want to feel better, all right? But I do it because I'm looking at your future health prospects. That's my job, is to look at all the things that we can do that will make you feel better, that will give you a better future health. I'm not going to do things to make you feel better now that's going to compromise your future health prospects. And so even if you're in that 20% who it did do something for you. We have a machine in our office that tells us your skeletal mass, and people are on testosterone who even don't feel well, sometimes who even aren't even exercising, are building skeletal muscle a pound or two at a time. So it's doing you good whether you feel it or not, and it's giving you better health prospects whether you feel it or not. So come to my office. Let's talk about it. All right. All right. So what goes wrong? So we've talked about all these internal systems, and remember we looked at the wellness gauge. And what's the difference between being in the green and being in the yellow or the orange? The yellow and orange means that you're on the path to increasing disease and disability. If you don't change the path you're on, the way you're going, if you're in the yellow and orange, that means as time goes by, this month, next year, your health is going to go down, you're going to get worse and worse. And the reason why is because your internal systems are not fixing themselves, because things are out of balance in your body, and your health is going down, and it's going to continue to go that way. You've all heard the quote by Einstein, definition of an idiot, somebody who keeps doing the same thing and expects a different result. You know, and that's insanity. That's right. Close. That's right. An insane idiot. But that's what a lot of us do in regards to health, because we never prioritize it. It never gets bumped up. So this is something I need to take care of, and that's why I feed you dinner, so I can bump this up on your priority list, so we can talk about your health, your future health, because now is the time to take action. Not 10 years from now, not 5 years from now. For some of you, it's going to be too late. There was a guy when I was in family practice, a real nice guy, had diabetes, a touch of sugar, and a little hypertension. His words, that's how he described it. Just an easygoing guy, compliant for the most part, took his medicines. He came into my office one day, and I said, you know, you've got a lot of risk factors for heart disease, Lonnie. We should put you on the treadmill, do an exercise stress test. Lonnie says, Doc, I feel fine. Let's talk about that next time when I come in. Well, the next time Lonnie came in, I see your faces. You know how the story's going to go. He sat on the exam table and says, Doc, 2 weeks after I left your office last time, I had a massive heart attack. It was so bad, they flew me to Baylor Hospital. And at Baylor Hospital, my heart was so weak, to keep me alive, they had to put an aortic balloon pump in. They went in an artery here, and it actually counterpulsated to strengthen my heart so that I could just stay alive. I was in a hospital a month. I was in cardiac rehab a month. I only got out 2 weeks ago. My life will never be the same. Because of that aortic balloon pump, I got a clot in my leg, and I lost my leg. That's why the crutches are leaning against the wall. Lonnie lived about another 6 months, and they weren't high-quality lives, high-quality months for him. It was a bad time for Lonnie. He failed to take action. So what goes wrong with our internal systems? Why do we fail? Why are we in the yellow and orange and not in the green? We don't eat right. This seems so simple, right? We should just eat better. And a lot of, the American diet is high calorie, low nutrition. So we decide we're going to do better. We bring the calories down and we bring the nutrition up. How good a diet is that? For most people, it's still not a good diet. It's still not what we need to be on. You know, what I do in the office is we try to optimize. And by optimize, and that's different for everybody. You don't have to be on a whole vegetable diet or anything like that. But an optimized diet is delicious and good and gives you the nutrition you need and the calories that you need, and gets you back out of balance so you don't have that problem with stored energy. So, and this is the number one take-home point for the day. If you want to live a long, good life, you have to optimize your nutrition. If you're going to compromise somewhere else. Don't compromise in your nutrition. You need to eat right. All right? And you need some help doing that, because how many different diet plans are out there? And you can read testimonials on the internet, and every one of them make you think, gosh, I got to be on this diet. This is the one I need, because they have such great testimonials. Everybody's selling something, selling their diets. This plan, that plan, buy this food. So you need help. You need a guide to help you through it all. Bad information. How many of you remember this? I don't think they advertise these anymore. The Ab Buster. The infomercials at night. Yeah, you have one? Not anymore. So you know what? Know how it goes. That's right. A model gets on this thing and shows off his or her abs, and you think, wow, I want that. It's just marketing. They've never seen the machine before. They're just getting up there to sell the machine to you. But that's only the very surface of the bad information we have. What do you guys think about the pharmaceutical commercials? I like them. They're great for entertainment value. Not for education, but for entertainment, they're great. They all start out with, how do they all start out? He says the name of the medicine, and then a sentence or two about why you should take it. And then he goes into this long thing, and what does he say? Side effects, bad. And how does it always end? If you die, call your doctor and let him know. That's how it always ends up. But these people spend billions of dollars marketing, and obviously it works. How do they do that? What's the visual going on while this guy's saying all this stuff? What's going on the screen? Healthy, happy, good life, happy stuff. Right, stuff that we all want. Running in the grass with our grandchildren. Men and women sitting in tubs beside each other, holding hands, right? You've all seen the commercials. So this works because They know you're going to remember the name of the medicine, and your mind is going to have an association with the visual. Name of the medicine and happiness, exactly right. And your mind is going to link those two things. All this other stuff that he said, you're not going to remember any of it. None of that. And so 5 years from now, when you or somebody you know needs one of these medicines, you have a positive memory, and it's going to pop into your head, yeah, I think that's a good medicine. That's exactly what they're doing. They're programming your mind. They're getting inside your head. And that's an example of bad information. So a lot of bad information out there, and we need a defense against that. Stress. Physical stress. You know, just sitting is a physical stress. You sit more than 3 or 4 hours a day, you have an increased risk of heart attack. You don't think about that much. Chemical stress. How many of you think we live in a toxic world? We do. When they do tests on umbilical cord blood, babies that haven't seen the world yet, they find between 200 and 250 foreign substances. Small amounts, true, but these are foreign things that they have gotten from their moms before they're even born. So it's a toxic world. We don't know how these things are affecting us, but they might have some explanation for the increased incidence of childhood cancers, childhood leukemias, and then all the autoimmune diseases that are going on out there. A lot of toxins, and so we need help dealing with that. One of the reasons why our systems break down. And then emotional stress. We're all familiar with this. My wife mentioned that we spent some time overseas. We went overseas. We had 5 kids, 2 in diapers. We didn't know the language, didn't know the culture. There was no prepared food in the country. You had to buy bags of rice, bags of flour, and vegetables were on the street, and meat was at the meat market hanging on hooks. How many of you think that sounds stressful? Best years of our life. Best years of our life. How can that be? We weren't in America. This is the land of opportunity, but it's also the land of stress. You know, we put stress on ourselves. I don't know if we're trying to keep up the Joneses or making higher goals for ourselves, but we expect ourselves to succeed. We have a busy, hectic life, and we don't give ourselves enough rest, and we're chronically stressed. How many of you know that? You're stressed and you know it. The rest of you just don't know, you know. We're all stressed. And that's the number 2 take-home point. First one is you have to optimize your nutrition. Second one, if you want to live long and well, you really have to deal with stress. Everybody. Everybody has to deal with it. Even people that are low-key. The bad thing about being low-key, Lonnie was low-key, you know, but he was internalizing that stress, and they ate him up. And that doesn't mean you're doing well just because you're being low-key. Everybody has to deal with stress. Hormones. We've already talked a good deal about hormones. One thing that happens as we age is building up, restoring hormones, hormones that turn your epigenetic switches to maintenance and repair. Those hormones go down. Hormones that cause us to store fat go up as we age. And so our body compositions change. If we stay in this bad nutrition, high stress diet, and we don't replace our hormones, our destiny is that we're going to have a worse body composition. We're going to get less muscle and more fat. Less muscle, more fat. It's just going to happen. So that happens naturally. And if you want to pursue a course of anti-aging, if you want to make sure that you have the best health prospects in the future, you have to think seriously and know what all your options are for hormone replacement. So different hormone problems can cause different problems with your bodies. Some of you see yourself up there. So we don't take activity. We've been trained to be passive, right? The healthcare system's going to take care of us. We have an ache or a pain, we go to the doctor, he thinks about it 5 minutes and writes us a script, and we go on our way. And that's all the activity we do. We go and we depend on the healthcare system to fix us. And we've already gone over that. It's not working, right? So we have to take that responsibility on ourselves and become proactive. Not like this guy. This is walking the dog. Healthy dog, not such a healthy driver, right? So, it's complicated. There are a lot of different pieces. We need to get the toxins out of our lives. We have to eat right. Brain. We can go on and on about the brain. The brain's vitally important. If you don't take care of your brain, what does it matter what you do with your body? For the most part, taking care of your body takes care of your brain, but you have to give some special attention to your brain. It's where you live. Hormones, the nervous system. Fitness and spirituality. So it's complicated. A lot of things go wrong. Everything in the environment is set against us. And that is how you find yourself in the shape that you're in today. All right? And we Americans are optimistic. We expect things to get better, right? And that's kind of what we're hoping for. But everything in the environment is against that. Your habits are against it. The toxins that are out there, all the bad information that's out there, and the things that your body's doing to itself. Your hormones are going down and getting out of balance. Everything's going against you, so you're going to have to take action. And figuring this out by yourself is a challenge, and probably not going to happen. So what we do is we try to pull everything into a system. So everything fits together. Everything relates to everything else, does it not? So this comes from a study where they evaluated people who did healthcare-related behavior change. A lot of it starting an exercise program or dieting, and they failed 94% of the time. Over a period of time, they had the initial success and then failed 94% of the time. And the reason why is because they were addressing only one of these factors. Nutrition or fitness or hormones, but not addressing them all. So if you address them all, you turn all the knobs, all the epigenetic knobs in the right way, you're going to optimize your health. You do your hormones, you eat right, you take care of toxins in your body, then the hormones can have their full effect and you experience the benefit of that. What did we just do? Okay, stress, that's right. We're giving me stress right now. Help. So what we do in Restore Wellness Center and how we're different is we address these things in a systematic way. The first pillar of health that we have is detoxification. And detoxification is a great way to start because you've got to get the toxins out of your body. And on the detox system that we have, it helps your liver do its job to get toxins out, helps you learn to eat right so you quit putting the toxins in. It helps get your gut well so that your gut can do its job to absorb nutrients. And it helps break your bad dietary habits. So detox does all those things. Coming out of detox, we work on diet and nutrition. You know, we want you to eat right. The difference between us and a diet plan is that we don't put you on a diet. We get you eating the things that you need to be eating anyway. And you're going to lose weight on that and reach your optimum weight and stay there by eating the same. You don't have to transition. You don't go eat the stuff we want you on and then transition into the regular diet at some point in time. We get you eating the stuff that you need to be eating. So we optimize your diet, and on that optimized diet, your body sheds fat. And that's what we all need, and you gain nutrition. Detoxification, diet, fitness, exercise and fitness. Everybody knows the importance of this. And generally people are in two categories, the exercisers and the non-exercisers. The exercisers exercise unless there's some reason or they're too busy, which is most of us most of the time. It's hard to make time to exercise with our busy, stress-filled lives. But we need even more stress. Exercise is a great way to deal with stress, but there's so much more to what exercise does. You make more mitochondria when you're exercising. Remember we talked about mitochondria, those little guys in your cells that release energy? More mitochondria is good. If you want energy, then you want mitochondria there. So exercise helps us do that. Exercise is also another way that turns those epigenetic switches to youthful, maintenance and repair. Let's fix this body up. When you exercise significantly, your body gets the message. We need to fix things up here. This guy's going to be active, all right? So we're going to make it a body that can be more active. So you're not going to get a youthful or more youthful body unless you exercise. So we help people do that. We test where you're at fitness-wise and give you prescriptions to tell you what you need to do to get in better shape. And then hormones. Balancing your hormones is all important. You can't achieve optimum wellness without it. Brain, vitally important. Again, I could go on and on about the brain, but we're almost out of time, so we'll have to just leave brain there. But it's the roof over the house. The pillars all hold the brain up, and the brain shelters everything else. And then spiritual. People who live long and well have a reason for living. They have a purpose for life. And what are you living for? People who really live high quality, long lives know what that purpose is. So the spiritual element is always part of real wellness. Okay. So we all wish we planted trees around our house 20 years ago. We didn't, but the next best time is right now. We all wish that we'd taken action for our health 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We wish that we'd started that diet, lost weight, taken better care of ourselves, started eating right, but we didn't. So when's the time we should do all those things? Like right now. This is the time for action. So, time to take action. Don't be like this fat cat. Again, this is not taking action. So at Restore Wellness Center, we have it all packaged. We know what you need. It's customized according to what your needs are, but we know what needs to be known, and we know how to discover those things. We know what needs to have action taken on it. By the time that I get through with your history and we get your lab work back, we'll know what needs action. And we know the education that you need. And we have that all packaged together in a curriculum. ABC 1, 2, 3. We make it easy for you. I have the hard job. Your job is to show up, okay? And that's what we're going to ask you to do, is to show up and let me help you. Can you predict the future of your health care? So, like Lonnie, and he didn't know this was coming, but if he had taken action, if he had taken control of his future, like you do when you change the epigenetic switches, you can. If you're letting this diet and the random world out there determine your lifestyle choices, you can't. It's random. You don't know if you're going to live long and well, or if you're going to go down before that. Likely you won't live long and well if you don't take control of these switches. But if you change all these switches and modify your lifestyle, if you optimize everything you can, you minimize your chances of that random bad thing happening to you, which none of us want to happen. And you also minimize your chances of heart disease showing up or high blood pressure. And you also help yourself feel better now. All the things that are making you feel bad now are also what's deteriorating your health. Does that make sense to you guys? So, how many of you are on board? How many think a consult in my clinic sounds good at this time? Good. Smart crowd. I hope I don't do anything to convince you not to between now and the end. We're almost there. So yes, you can predict the future of your health care. You need to know what to order. What do you need to discover? We need to figure out the true underlying cause. What's the root cause of what's going wrong with your health? Focus on this cause and not just the symptoms. We want to make you feel better, but we have to get to the cause if we're going to give you a better health prospect. Correct the dysfunction, not alter the labs with drugs. Address the body as a whole. A systematic approach. And mentoring. We need help getting through this. And it's occurred to some of you already. I can do this. We're American optimists, right? We think this can happen. It hasn't worked for you so far. And this is not something you want. There's a lot of ways to save money and save your time. This is where you need to do it right. You know, this is an investment in your future health and your future life. When you don't have your health, you don't have much. So this is the time to take action. So when you go see your doctor, how much does it cost? Zero. Thank goodness for insurance. So, but not counting your copay, your copay together with what it actually costs, what your insurance company's paying for that, what does it cost you to see your doctor? $200. National average is $200 to $300, okay? And how long does the doctor spend with you? 5 minutes. National average, 37 minutes. That's right. So it's a pretty quick visit and it's a pretty expensive visit. So when you come and see me, how long should I spend with you?
20 minutes.
Now we're going to spend this, I'm going to set aside an hour. We're going to take as long as it takes to get through your history and to work through what we need to work through. So whatever it takes is how long it's going to be and what should it cost. Don't say zero, this is America.
$50 is what we pay.
$50.
What is it, $59.99?
No. No, we'll get to that in a minute. So we do a complete wellness evaluation, consultation, the wellness evaluation, then come up with a plan of action. And our usual charge is $287. For an hour's worth of time, that's still a good deal. But I've done the hard work with you already now, because you know how I think, and half the education is already done. I just have to learn about you. So we discount it down for those of you who are here. We give a consultation for $127. And the second person, if two of you come together, the second person is only $47 more. And for those of you who are willing to sign up tonight, we'll discount this further to $87. Okay? Is that okay, April?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She's the boss.
Does it have to be paid or can it be paid?
You got to talk. You have to negotiate this with April. She's in charge of this. Okay, so let me just talk. Let me tell you how it's going to be when you come in for your consultation. First one is, what's the catch? Can I help everybody? No, I can't help everybody. But for the most part, you self-select. I can't help people who are unwilling to take action. You know, and there's a few people who show up in my office that I don't sign up on programs because I see they're expecting me to fix them. This is about me helping you fix yourself. All right, you have to be motivated. You have to be willing to take action. So I can't help everybody. So what's the catch? I can't help everybody. What to expect? I'm going to sit down with you. You're going to see my offices. You're going to meet my office staff. And I'm going to look over, while you're meeting everybody, I'm going to look over the paperwork that you fill out ahead of time. And then we're going to sit down knee to knee and we're going to go over your health history. And we'll spend that time going over your health history, and we're going to review it and talk together about our programs and see if we can come to agreement about getting in a program to get you on track to wellness. So, frequently asked questions. Does insurance cover this? No, they do not. It's not that we don't take insurance, it's the insurance doesn't cover for what I do. I do very labor-intensive services, give you a lot of time and a lot of expertise that insurance is not willing to pay for. And we've already covered that. The insurance has a counter motivation. They really don't want to get you well. And my motivation is exactly right. Thank you. So that's what we do. And also, people ask me, well, can I afford your programs? Yes. We have a lot of single working moms on programs. We have some financing options available. I have a lot of different levels of programs for, it's not one size fit all. We can make it work for you. Does that make sense? Okay, how many of you are in now? You're going to come and see me in the clinic.
I have a question. If you've already had some blood work done recently.
Right, bring that with you when you come. Excellent. You know, and the fact is that most people, even when they get their annual wellness checkup, they don't get near everything they need. So we're probably going to need some more, but bring your lab work. That's often very helpful, okay? And I'm going to be answering questions up here to the side. So I'll hang around for a little while. If anybody has any extra questions, please come and visit with me, okay? Thank you very much.